Everybody, it's Emily from ARG Schooling, and today I'm going to film my December wrap-up and my 2017 goals, resolutions, what have you. I'm going to start with my goals for the year. And so in 2016, I set my Goodreads for the first time low. I set it to 50 books. Usually I was aiming much higher, and I was not finishing my challenge, and it was frustrating. And I knew I could probably hit 80 books or 90 books or whatever, but sometimes it was stressful, and I didn't want to be stressed out reading. So I decided this year to go, or last year to go low, and so I set it for 50. And I ended up reading 66 books total in 2016, which was great, and it felt really good to be able to hit that without feeling like I had to cram 10 more books in December. So I decided to do that again in 2017, so I set my Goodreads to 50, and we'll see how many more I hit, but at least I know that 50 is very doable for me. I'm also doing a couple challenges this year. The big one for me is the Pop Sugar reading challenge that they put out every year. I did it in 2015. I decided not to do it last year. And then I decided to kind of very relaxedly, is that a word? Do it this year because I like the idea, but I don't want to make reading stressful. So I've decided it's kind of fun, and I've joined a group on Facebook with some friends, and we're doing a very relaxed challenge, and so yeah, that's what I plan on doing for that. I'm also doing the C Homeschoolers reading challenge with my kids. Mostly the teens are going to do it on their own, but I'm going to try to do it with my 7-year-old. Most of it reading aloud, some of it just finding books for her that she might like to read on her own, since she's this close to being able to read books by herself now. And so we're going to be doing that. I'm going to link both of those challenges down below if you want to check those out. But the one for the C Homeschoolers is aimed more for family-friendly type categories, and I want to say there's like 24 main ones, and I think there's like 12 bonus. My daughter is going to try to do all of them. My twins are begrudgingly joining in and doing the 24. I'm hoping it like inspires them and helps them find things that they will enjoy reading. I don't know. That's what we're going to do. And so those are all of my reading goals and what have you. I also have some minor goals for this channel. I want to try to do more book reviews because I feel like I don't do very many actual book reviews. I tend to just save them all for my wrap-ups. I also would like to do more homeschooling videos. I don't know yet what that will look like, but in my head anyway, that's what my plan is. Build your library. I'm having a pretty busy year. I'm going to be working on grade 10, which I'm anticipating having ready for release at sometime in the summer. I have Harry Potter units I'd really like to get finished. I'm almost finished with 4th Harry Potter unit. I'd really like to say that I'm going to get to the 5th one too, but I'm not going to go too crazy. But I'd like to. So I'd like to have 4 and 5 done this year. I am going to be doing a podcast with C Homeschoolers for School Choice Week at the end of this month, talking about Charlotte Mason homeschooling and teaching with living books. I'm going to be doing the C Homeschool Conference in June in West Virginia. I'll be there as a vendor. I'll leave the links for that below. My goal is to work on more blogging because I kind of have been neglecting my Build Your Library Homeschooler blog lately. So I would like to get something up on there once a month at least. So those are my businessy goals. I also have a book that I have been working on for, it feels like years at this point, that I'd like to be done with this year. And just life goals, I say these every year and it never really amounts to anything, but I'd like to eat healthier, I'd like to exercise, well, I don't like to exercise. I'd like to make myself get up and move more frequently throughout the day. Okay, now I'm going to get into my wrap-up. Most of the books I read this month I don't actually have physical copies of because one was from the library and 2 of them are ebooks. But I'm just going to kind of run through what I read and tell you a little bit about them. So the first book I finished in December was Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. This was our Read Like a Mom book club choice for November that carried over into December because a lot of us we're very busy during the holiday season. I really enjoyed this. I wasn't sure at first. I probably didn't really start to like it until about halfway through the book. It kind of reminded me a little bit of a gothic, like Jane Eyre type story where you know something fishy is going on, but you don't quite know the extent of it. And I enjoyed it. It's a good book. It's very well written. There were some stuff about it I didn't love, like the characters are kind of unlikable. I really disliked the main character. I really disliked the fact that she doesn't have a name. I think that bothered me more than anything else. I like for characters to have names. I like to be able to think of them as what their name is, not like the girl that was the main character. That bugged me quite a bit, but yeah. Overall, I gave it 4 stars and I enjoyed it. I had also read The Golden Compass by Philip Pullman. That was a library book. I think I'm going to go ahead and buy the trilogy at some point soon because I'd like to know what happens next, and I'd kind of like to own them. It's about a girl named Lyra who lives with her uncle in this Oxford college setting that is not our world but is similar to our world, except in this world you wear your soul on the outside of your body as an animal. They're called demons or daemons. I'm really not sure. It's like one of those E-A-A-E. I think it's A-E, you know, stuck together. That drives me crazy. I never know how to pronounce it. Daemon or demon? I don't know. But they're animals that are your soul and they are a part of you. But they're separate from you as well. So you can like talk to your little animal, and I loved the idea of that. I want my own little animal that is mine and always with me and talks to me. That would be awesome if I could have that. So, and the story is sort of Lyra figuring out what's going on. There's a mystery with dust, which never really got fully explained, or if it did, I didn't quite grasp it. And she's finding out who she is, who her family is. She believes she's an orphan, but she learns more about her past and her family. And I feel like it's a good start to a series, and I want to know what happens next. And I don't feel like I'm explaining it very well. It's been a while since I read it, and I'm trying to remember everything. But I did enjoy it. I gave it 4 stars. I want to read the next book and see how it goes. I also read, on my e-reader, I read City of Thieves, which I loved, and that is by David Benioff, who I was excited he wrote a book. I didn't know he wrote books. He is one of the writers and producers of Game of Thrones, which you guys know I love that show a lot. And so when I saw David Benioff had a book, I got really excited. And so I picked it up on my e-reader, and I loved it so much. It's a World War II story, so you know right there I was like really excited. It takes place during the Siege of Leningrad, and it follows the 2 main characters, Lev and Kolya, who are both arrested at the beginning of the book. And at this point during the Siege of Leningrad, they don't have time or space or food to deal with prisoners. So if you are arrested, you're basically executed. And so Lev and Kolya are both taken into this jailhouse, and they're expecting to be killed. And they're instead given the proposition that the general, I believe it was the general or the colonel, I'm not sure, one of the lead guys in the army, his daughter is getting married, and he'd really like for her to have a wedding cake, so he needs a dozen eggs. So he tells them, if you can get me a dozen eggs, I'll let you go free. So Lev and Kolya have to kind of come together and search the city of Leningrad and surrounding areas for eggs, which is basically an impossible task because this is a point in time and a place where people are starving to death and resorting to cannibalism, and it's horrible. And so they have to go find eggs, and it sounds like it would be a really bleak story, but Lev and Kolya's friendship is just amazing. They bond over this task, and I loved Kolya's character so much. And it's written very witty, very funny, very poignant. I really, really, really loved it. I want to buy it because it needs to be on my bookshelf. I want to read it again. I loved it. I gave it 5 stars. I also, on my Kindle, I read And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie. I had heard about this book a while ago. I've never read anything by Agatha Christie before, and I've been wanting to try that out, and I heard that And Then There Were None were a good place to start. So I found it on Overdrive, and I was on a wait list. I think I put it on the wait list 2 or 3 months ago, and I was like number 175. So it finally came up this month, or this past month, and I read it, and I enjoyed it. It was good. It's not the kind of book I typically read, but I'm trying to branch out and try new things, and so I read it. It's a mystery. It was interesting. I did not guess the answer. I could not figure out who it was. I mean, basically the premise is these 10 people come to this weird island for a weekend getaway kind of thing. They're all invited by different people, and they all get there and find out that there's no one else on this island, and they all start getting picked off one by one, and they're murdered, and nobody can figure out who's doing it, and they all suspect each other. And when you finally get to the end and you find out who did it and it's all explained, it all makes complete and perfect sense, but like you can never quite figure out what's happening. So I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the mystery. I thought it was fun. And I gave it 3.5 stars. I also read Climate Changed by Felipe Squarzoni. Felipe Squarzoni, maybe, I think is how you pronounce his name. This is a graphic novel. And it's sort of, I don't know how to explain this. It's a graphic memoir, sort of his learning about climate change and what is happening. And I think this is a really important book that I think everyone should read. I think this is one of those books that should be required reading for everybody. It's very scary when you realize how dangerously close to the edge we are sitting right now as far as being able to come back from it. And it's one of those controversial topics that people either they know it's happening and they don't want to know, or they don't want to care, or they don't believe that it's happening and they just disregard everything they hear about it. And I really wish more people would accept science and accept that this is happening and that we need to do something about it. So I gave this 4.5 stars. I highly recommend it. And then the last book I read was a read aloud with my youngest, which was Charlotte's Web, which of course I loved. 5 stars. I would read this over and over again and never get bored. I love the story so much. I loved reading it with my 7-year-old. We both enjoyed it. And that is all the books that I read in the month of December. I'd love to hear about what you read in December, what your reading goals are for the new year, or just for life in general. And thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Happy reading. Bye!